Is your body hiding grief you've ignored? Learn to listen. Your healing starts here. Welcome, Soul Seekers. Today, we're going to continue the idea of how our bodies are antennas and reporting back to us through the grief body. What we're probably ignoring to our detriment are things that we're societally told not to think. We ourselves may think, I can't go there. I don't have the words. I don't have the support. I don't know even what questions to ask. I'm not even fully aware that I have anything that I'm grieving. But listen in and let's see if there is something for you right now. Maybe there was in the past, and you'll be able to take your mind back to a time and it will make more sense now with the eyes of who you are at this point. Or if you ever come across a time in your life, because we all do, where grief does strike. And I'm going through one of those times right now. And I am learning so much as we are doing these things together. So I wanted to talk a little bit about grief and the things that we are ignoring at our peril, as I have found some things in my own experience that I'm really shocked. I thought I knew enough about grief that I could get through this, but there are things that I just have to share with you. I'm going to do it kind of off the cuff because it's so personal right now and I'm still growing in it, just like you are or will be. So let's kind of take a look at, first and foremost, I'd like to talk about what is spirituality? What is a spiritual person? And from everything I know, a spiritual person is someone who understands there's a connection to the unseen somehow, some way. There's a divine support system. Some people have angels and God and deities and just a understanding that there's more to this world than what our five senses give us. There are other people who probably, I don't know if they're following this channel, but they are more likely to think that it's all up to them. And my question for them is, are you really sure that you do not have some type of support system that is more than what other people can give to you? And I have found that even as a spiritual person, I have a lot of support around me from other people and from the ethers or the unseen that I know are all here for me. But there are times I feel very alone and like there's nothing for me. And that is one of the things that the body or the mind, our emotions can do to us, is make us feel disconnected from our support systems. And you'll hear that a lot with self-care advice from people who are in the industry, your friends, your family, others who are saying, let me help, or make sure you get good support. And that is an important part of taking good care of yourself when you're struggling on so many levels anyway, especially if you're in the caregiver role, as I am, again, which is, oh my goodness, what happened? This was unexpected. Sometimes you can anticipate these things. The life arc of a person is birth to final days and ending this particular life of the physical. In my view, they go on to the eternal, which they've always been connected to anyway. We all are. But that whole idea of having this abrupt, sudden, it stops, there is no more of this. That is part of the death card in the tarot that I love seeing because it can mean the end of a situation. It can also mean the end of a person's life. And that likewise is like, it is just done. It's a hard stop. That is no longer something that is carrying forward. My husband always said that life is often like a painter. Final thing they do after they finished painting their canvas is to make a signature. This is my life. This finishes this work. And that's what he sees as the idea of a life well lived, or any life. When you figuratively sign off and say it's done, then you have completed the painting that you've created of this life, this creation. And that kind of makes sense to me now that I kind of think about it. And I give that to you as an idea of how we can maybe go forward with our ideas of death. It's one that very few people really want to go there for, but it is something that we will often face. I've had to face death of great aunts and uncles and grandparents and others that are very difficult, and you have to process through those. Often you don't have control over the situation. It is what it is. Many people will say, well, that's a soul choice, or way it was supposed to be, or there's many ways that we work with how we process through those things. But I think it's all true that none of us are getting out of this alive. So the idea is to make the most of it and find your way through it, because this is what your body is going through. And many times we're up in our heads, we might be in our emotional heart, but we forget about our bodies. And I wanted to kind of go through some things that are indicative of this whole pain that we are ignoring very often. And some of us will do one and not the other. And so find your way of how you're doing it. Get out a journal and start noting the things that are making sense to you that you've experienced, or you feel like that could be an experience that I would tend to do. And then you can go into your journal with the divine and find out if there's a better way to get through it. Like I said, I thought I had done a lot of this work previously, but until you're in it, oh my mercy sakes, you don't really know until you're in it and have to face it and walk your talk. I know I've had to walk my talk a lot lately, and it's something that I want to give to you. Now, let's just kind of look at this. So emotions, many times people will want to bypass. Say, oh no, I'm love and light and I never deal with negativity. That could be a sign of not really facing the reality of all the emotions and the signals and the signs that are going on with the body, and trying to process. Remember, we were talking about you've got the divine knowing and the way you work with your heart, and then that whole idea of balancing it out. Spiritual bypassing can really harm you. And so you're going to want to pay attention if you can see that you're not wanting to face something. The denial is another one. Oh, that doesn't impact me. I'm over here. I'm doing other things. Not going to even go there. We just can't. It consumes you. It just takes you over like a tidal wave, and you have no way to swim your way out of this emotional storm. The thoughts keep looping. Everything just seems like it's in the immediate heaviness of the moment, and you're not able to really process appropriately or healthily. And all of these things are things you're going to want to get professional help with. Your family and your friends and your social circles and stuff, they can be great and they are amazing and you do need them. But there are times when we all can use some extra help because we've probably never been here before, not like this. And so it's important to think about that. Exhaustion versus depression. Exhaustion, if you're on a soul exhaustion moment where everything just feels really disconnected, you're feeling numb, versus depression, which is far, far deeper and darker. And definitely you've got to get serious professional help. That can get very deep and dark fast. That idea of dealing with the shadow where you may need to take a break and get some rest. Depression, rest won't help, but spiritual exhaustion, it can be, if you're led and guided there, to find other things to bring up your joy again, because it's just been a lot. Intentions to serve is one thing that I think has been a real surprise for me. I thought as a caregiver, I was doing really good things for my loved ones. And come to find out, I had all the best intentions, but you can find yourself in between the one that you love and their own divine connection, divine self and the heart of themselves and their ability to balance and either get stronger with it or to let the comfort that only the divine can give them. And you're just trying to be part of the solution and make it easier for them, comfort them. That sometimes actually can be more of a bedevilment to your loved ones. And again, I love the idea of the tarot cards, and many variations of the devil card come to mind. When that came to me and I had to face the fact that no matter how much care and love I wanted to give, the way the other person might be feeling and sensing is that I was more, like I said, a bedevilment, someone who was going to keep them weak instead of help them fight through whatever, if that's what they want to do, or just to be allowed to be able to find the comfort and the direction and guidance of their own inner higher self and God or source or whatever it will be for them. And it's something to think about. Where are you getting in the way of someone else's path, their soul path, that inner self? There's undercurrents, there's things that are just under the surface. Nobody sees it, you don't reveal it, but you're feeling it or thinking it way deep underneath. One of the things that came to my mind, and it was really hard, was the idea of what if my loved one gets worse and dies? What if they improve and get better? Because how would you prepare? And it wasn't until just today that I was able to actually put that into words. It was in there, and there's a part of me that felt really kind of guilty. Well, not kind of, very guilty. It's like, well, that's not very nice. But the thing is, now that I think about it, and I was able to talk to my loved one, and we were able to process through that, there's a reality of what does it look like, your future, if they leave and they're gone? What does it look like if they continue on? And that was real interesting, especially when you talk about the control issues. One of the things is, long-term marriage for me, there's that give and take and there's control. And I'm finding that the more my loved one is unable to take the control that he needed, I need to step in. That means that I have to start stepping up and being the one in control, making decisions. And then every so often those good days come and he's coming in going, well, why isn't it my way like it's always been? Well, things have changed. So there's this interesting dynamic of controls. And I saw that with caregiving for my parent, where the parent-child, again, who's got the control and who doesn't. And when that shifts and when you, as the child, now have to become a parent because it's just not going to work the other way, your parent is no longer able to control their lives and you have to step in and help them and protect them, be available to them and make decisions for them and for the best of their needs and their wants and desires. And sometimes you have to say no. You want to say yes all the time, but you can't say yes to all the things. It's just not always practical. Which brings us into self-care. And you're also probably reading all the things about taking good care of yourself, eating right, getting enough sleep. Make sure there's stuff that you enjoy doing. You keep some hobbies and you keep yourself as a priority, right? Whatever this grief thing is. For you, it could be having children. It could be having other things. But the thing is this grief that is causing you to have to say goodbye to some things that you once thought would be. The dreams, the plans, the goals, and things shifted for whatever reason. That whole self-care idea, as nice as it sounds, I don't know, that's how I am anyway, is you don't get this. I understand, but when you have to take on so much more than just your own life, it's a lot more. And many times you're so overwhelmed. Just the thought of adding one more thing, like asking for help when you don't even always have all the words. You just know that you got this and this and this to do. If someone knows what to do and they step in and they start taking it over and helping with what they know how to help with, it's a relief because you didn't have to think it through. You didn't have to ask them. And even if you do ask them, are they following through? Are you being a good manager, making sure that you can trust them, that they're going to get things done the way you think they should be done, the way they said they would do them? And many times you can have that, but it's just one more thing. And sometimes it's almost easier just do it yourself, which sends you back into a loop that says, I don't even know how to ask for more help, and I will do my best to make sure I take good care of myself. But when duty calls, you're probably thinking you've got to step up, which leads me to the next thing. Remind yourself that not every request has to be right this second, that you will likely need to set the new parameters of how things need to go forward now, because you've got to have the ability to see things through successfully. You need to be able to trust that things will get done successfully. You will need to feel like you are taking some moments that are reasonable and helping you to feel successful. You'll do fine as long as you do get good rest, have a chance to eat, and just be yourself too, because you are also super important. And these are things that are coming to me now, but when you're in the middle of it, I'm thinking it's harder. So if you know someone in your life who is actually handling the caregiving, you may be in grief, but they are really doing the heavy lifting, then, this will also help you to know that sometimes maybe you can just step in and help out and you're not in the way. I know that I don't want to be in someone else's way, and I don't want them in my way. And there's times when there's just no words. It's so hard. It will almost feel sometimes like it's easier to just throw up your hands and say, there's not enough love or support for me in the world. And that may be what the caregiver in your world is thinking right now. And how you deal with that, I would ask you to do some deep praying and some journaling and see where you can step in. I just remembered something. There was a time it felt really hard for my aunt and her daughter. And so I knew that I couldn't do much. But one thing I could do is I could set up a play date every week for my aunt where I would go pick her up. We'd go out to lunch. And that would give my cousin a chance to take a break. She loved those times. And it was a great time for me and my aunt. And we had some really nice times. I think that's something that I just thought of. That was really cool. And I just took initiative and said, listen, this is what I'd like to do. As long as it's all right with you, I think I'm just going to set aside my Wednesday afternoons. I'll be over at about 11:30, pick her up. We're going to go off to lunch at the senior center, and we'll hang out together and talk, and I'll bring her back later in the afternoon. She can have her nap, and you can come on back home when you're ready and relax. She's been out and having some social time. You get on with your day, they get on with theirs. I just thought of that. That's one thing you can do if you live close by. Blaming old age. Oh, I forgot this, I forgot that, because you're so overwhelmed that multitasking and keeping things in focus, you may be tempted to blame fumbles that we all do. You probably did it back when you were much younger, and you still forgot things, and you fumbled and you stumbled. But now you may be blaming it on old age, or that this grief is causing all of these things that are taking everything away from you. And I would caution you to be really careful about the stories you tell yourself and the beliefs you believe about this period of time. It may be that you forgot something, and give yourself grace. It's going to be important. We all need that. We're all human. There's also times when your loved one, no matter what you do, they're hurting, they're in pain, and they're grouchy, they're grumpy, they have no more control, they're getting testy. They're also feeling some type of ego rising up, wanting to scratch and control something. And controlling you may be one of the ways that the ego is trying to take care of its life or death needs. It's got to survive. However it survives, it'll climb on top of even a lifeguard. But it's an interesting idea in that you may be faced with a lot of crabbiness, things that just are not like the person that you've always known and loved and had a partnership or relationship with. So giving yourself that grace, that ability to maybe detach and see them more objectively, see the situation more clearly, set some boundaries, and allow yourself some control in such things that they are not going to be able to control you. They don't get to be the puppeteer to you. And I'm thinking that's another great tip that I have had to learn, is to reserve my own sovereignty, my own ability to make decisions. I am the mature one. I am the one that has the minds that can now still see more clearly and make good decisions. I'm the best they've got. So self-care means I've got to take really good care of myself, because we are in this together and one of us has to be the strong one. As much as we love you and want you to be the strong one, it's not proving to be the case right now. You've gotten the diagnosis. We can see the decline. There's reasons for the reason why you're feeling so much grief. The other person is likewise trying to find their way out, and it's not always going to be simple and easy. Appealing to better nature of them is going to be a better approach, but timing's everything. Deal with the situation as it is, and then at a later time when the discussion can be brought up in a way that is not in that moment. Because if you're in that moment and you bring it up, you get triggered, you get defensive, you say something, and it creates more escalation of the conflict. That's not going to help. Create the space for de-escalation, and then later bring in the topic in a way that isn't personalized to make this thing work. We need to trust each other. I need to trust that I can take good care of myself and then be able to take good care of you. Self-care will be a big part of that. And you've got to know, I'm not going to jump every single time you want me to jump. I may need to say, not at this moment. We'll schedule that. I'll do that when I can get to that in a moment or a little later, or we'll put that together another time, and it's not going to have to be immediately right now. That was a huge one for me to learn. Humor. Humor is key. So put on the comedy, do the joking around, try to see the humor in the mundane and even in the painful. Try to put a little chuckle in your life and in theirs if possible. As I said, honesty always, but you need to wait for the right timing. You know this person, you know yourself, and you need to really find the right time. And right in the moment may not be the right time. Trust, give space, come back to this later, and it will make a better difference. So partnership, you may want to think about some partnership agreements with the other person. It could be in writing, it could just be in discussions. Be sure that you are being seen as valuable, and that the goal is also about protection for them and for the things you've built together and what the goals are. What are the goals and dreams? Something else that was interesting is the whole identity of who you are, who they are, the codependence of the relationship, and where this all is one thing that you will find this period of grief really bringing you back around to have to face possibly some very painful, unloving parts of the history of who or what you have been, what you are, how you're being seen, felt, valued, as we talked about. So there's a lot of symptoms in that many people will want to just ignore, but that just passes it down to others, or it triggers you into these loops of patterns that won't change until you stop, face it, observe it, get wisdom, guidance, get professional help, and see things differently. So if you're seeing any risks in your life that are feeling like you can't even put a finger on exactly what this is all about, you're feeling unprotected or overwhelmed or at risk, or the person that you love is easily triggered and you are also likewise, or maybe you're trying to distract yourself, unable to really focus, you're feeling uncertain, or you don't know if you have support, you wouldn't even know how to ask for support, even know how to manage the support. So are you just giving in and just doing it yourself anyway? Those are really interesting things, and especially for sensitive souls who really need a lot of support. They're going to find that need, and if they're not getting met, it's going to go into depression. And that is the soul saying, I don't feel close to our divine source, our co-creation. One of the biggest things that I can say is be sure to pray. Pray for support, pray for guidance, pray for wisdom, pray for all of the things that are in this situation. Another thing that would be a big part of it is, how is your health? Are you finding things have changed? Eating more, eating less, sleeping more, sleeping less? Are you breathing shallower? Are you breathing differently to fast the weakening immune system? This was a big one for me. My immune system, every time there'd be conflict or I'd be in deep grief, I was thinking I was coming down with a cold. And of course, we're thinking that's so unfortunate. Come to find out, when I realized it was grief, all those symptoms started to ease up. And that was so surprising, and one that I will give to you. There's many, many ways that you can look at your life and wonder what is going on here, and try not to push away the grief. Grief is going to come. Grief is here, and you can definitely take a look at all of the things. What was it like prior? What is it like right now? Fatigue, exhaustion, changes in any kind of experience that you have, and get help. You're not necessarily always able to put words to some of this, but someone else may be able to give you the aha, that's what that is. That makes so much sense now. Yes, that's what that was really happening in my life. And my body was trying to tell me, but my body is using the language of the physical, and I didn't know how to interpret that. As I said, sometimes society has expectations for us and tells us that we have to do certain things in certain ways. And I would suggest questioning that and getting wise guidance. There's other parts of just the lack of understanding. You just are doing what you're doing because that's how it's done, and you're not questioning. Finding other groups that are doing similar things, like the caregiving or the grieving or supporting others and that are in similar situations, or just getting out and just finding new friends and making sure that you're seeing that you can go out and get new friends and be part of life. And there's this other reality, and you are not quite sure how to balance it, but you will find your balance for the co-creative answers that we all are praying for every time we run into a situation. And that's how it is done in our soul journeys. And that's one thing I found to be true. It doesn't matter what happens in life. Life happens. What is interesting is, do you have hope? Do you have faith? Do you have trust? I am finding that the whole power of being able to pray is amazing, because we are like a CEO of our own lives. No matter what problem comes up in a CEO's business, they just know they can face it, and they can get creative with it, and they can make a decision and go forward. The next thing is fear of being perceived as weak. So if you're fearing anything, that is a huge signal that there's an issue that you want to take a look at. So be sure to do that for yourself. Feeling any type of change in your body, in your emotions, in your mental state, and if you're feeling trapped, feeling alone, feeling like you can't continue, you gotta get some help. We've all been there. Just know that you do have hope. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick Soul Life Treasure Hunt reading for us because I need it. This has been a lot, as you know, and as we go through this, I am wanting us all to figure it out together. What do we need to know? Body, the body realm, our health. We are going to flexibility. This is so perfect. Our body realm, it's in the toolbox. So if you're in a state of grief, this is just skill building. This is temporary. It's actually something that every soul needs to go through and be in connection with their own highest and best within themselves. And that flexibility is a huge part of dealing with such grief. Let's do a hard pull on this. What's at the heart of the matter? Thank you. This was great. Yeah, body, flexibility. Let's do this. Flexibility. Four of Wands. Take a break. Feel the foundation of everything you want to build. You've got the fieriness of Aries, that determination, but you also have the peaceful dove of, you know, it'll happen and it's in divine timing, and what will happen is going to happen anyway. You are not going to have a lot of control over it, but what you do have control over is yourself and how you're responding. And that is key one. It's not the other people. It's not the situation. How are you responding to any situation that comes up? And the Knight of Swords. And that is what our soul wants us to really look at, is the way that we are going forward as masters of our mental universe. Do we have that ability to know when it's appropriate to use the cut and dried mental logic that we are being gifted with, that we have? And do we have the ability to go forward with it and be strong and on a path? And the Knight of Cups. So knights and knights. So knight is the emotional. So here's the mental, here's the emotional. And again, it's that knight on the steed and able to, we know that we can be emotionally strong and forward thinking. I know it's one of the things I wanted to share with you too, is grief happens many times when all those hopes and dreams, plans go awry. They're gone. You're not going to get those. It's not what you thought it was going to be. You're now in this present moment having to deal with something that's completely different. So it's almost like that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, or something along that line. But it just all comes all together, and it's just this whirlwind of, it just doesn't feel like it stops. And that's why stepping forward with the whole divine armor of God, whatever it is that's with you, that is helping you to cope and to get through it. And part of that is the divine gives us people who've got great skills, the professionals who know how to take care of all of us when we need that kind of care. And then Eight of Cups, that grieving, all the things not working, that's what's come in, calling us to rest and take a break. And the flow of what we're doing here is Four of Cups. A lot better. There's still going to be that inner and outer. The outer cup is probably showcasing one thing. I don't know about you, but you know, it's like there's always the song "The Tears of a Clown." There's a bit of the inner world and what you allow the external world to see, and what you will share, generally speaking. And that's what I see in this Four of Cups, the emotional. If somebody really wants to know and they're really going to commit, then there's lots of emotional support for that. But there's also just the breathing and releasing, and maybe just allowing it to just be kind of what it needs to be. I know that many times in grief, there's just no words. So it's difficult to really express it fully, but we all get through it. And so again, that foundation of inner and outer world of personality and design, trust it. It's there for you. It is something that those who you feel safe with, you can get more deeply with them on what's really going on. And then those who are just ready to just not have to be so much in the thick of it, it's enough. It's enough that they know that you're in grief, and they might be a little more sensitive, but they don't need to know the whole story possibly. And that's okay too. You'll figure it out. The bridge is art. It's a major arcana. And look at how she's blending the two. She's blending the cups and the swords. She's blending the emotional and the mental. and going forward. She knows how to take the grief that life gives and the rest, as well as just that wisdom that comes from having had the tears and having to move forward into the world after all. She knows all about how to bridge that gap. Oh my gosh, I'm leaving that with you. Okay, I feel a lot better. That's what I needed. I hope it helps and ministers to you as well. I will leave a link for membership. Leave your comments, and we'll still work with supporting you as best we can there. But don't forget to be very flexible with that means grace. That means relax a lot more and just appreciate that these times come, that it will bring you the wisdom you need. And you are on a mission in bringing it all together. You're a master artist right there. You can create an amazing piece of art from all of this. In the membership, I will be going through some more of these areas to expand on this particular reading and the wisdom it is showing us. We'll be talking about purpose, and we'll be talking about ultimate outcomes and glories and all that. So stay tuned until the next time.